When I joined Row New York in 2010, I was obsessed. I had never done anything like this before. I became that girl, the one that could only talk about rowing in the dinner table, at school. It took over my life. I was either at the gym lifting weights, at the boathouse, or doing my homework and academics on Mondays. Row New York was an everyday part of my life, and I loved every bit of it. I even got super obsessed and created all my usernames to be Anny Rose Port, so people knew me as Anny Rose Port. So, rowing changed my life. I remember spending most of my time going from the 7 train, sprinting down the boardwalk to the van just so I could make it to practice on time after school. And I never wanted to be late, mostly because I didn't want to let my boat down. And that year, I made it into the first novice boat, and that was such an achievement for me. Together, the 9 of us pushed each other through long erg workouts, laps around the lake, and sprints on the water as well. And all the work must have paid off because we ended up making finals at the New York State Championship in Saratoga that spring, and it was super exciting. Yes. I remember sitting in stroke seat in the starting line of the race, and it was a windy, coldy, and rainy day. Not the best for rowing, but we did it. And to my left, I could see my competition, which was Saratoga rowing. And Saratoga, they had these hats on, and they dimmed it all the way down to their eyebrows, and they all had matching ponytails. And to my right, I could see St. Anthony's. And St. Anthony's, they were a really big team that I heard of, and I was a little bit scared. And they were all holding hands and praying. And it was so strange. I thought to myself, wow, there's no way, like Row New York, this novice boat is gonna beat this team over here because they're so intense, and well, St. Anthony's, they had God on their side, so I don't know. I was really afraid, but my coxswain Tenzin, she saw that I was getting really nervous, and she pulled our boat together and said, all right, attention, put your oars in the water. I grabbed my oar, and I was like trembling because I was so nervous. And she said, attention, row. We take a good 5 strokes, and about 30 seconds into the race, we feel competitive, we feel strong, but then things kind of started to change. Well, after the first 2 to 3 minutes, we had open water, and it wasn't the good open water. It was, yeah. It was the kind of open water that makes you think, well, is this boat even in this race? Are they paddling? And I got so stressed out because I was sitting in stroke seat, and I started to doubt myself because it was about 2 to 3 minutes and I didn't see any of the competition. I was just staring at open water, and I was wondering, like, was it me? Was it because I was a short stroke seat? I don't know. But I definitely doubted myself, and I was very afraid that we weren't going to win this race. We worked really hard to get to this point, and I thought about all those hours on the erg over the winter. How could I let this boat down? So about after we hit the 1,500-meter mark, I noticed that Tenzin, my coxswain, she started to look a little different. First, she saw that I was, obviously stressed out because we were losing, and then I saw her sit up in the boat, and her eyes widened. The other boats were kind of in our view, and she wanted us to catch up. So she said, power 10. We pulled a power 10. Still nothing. And then we pulled another power 10. And then slowly I could see the stern deck of Saratoga, and I could also see that they were in the middle of a battle with St. Anthony's. And I realized then that we were still in this race. For in my mind, I thought that we were 3 to 4 boat lengths behind, but we were not that far away. And I don't know why I doubted myself, and I don't know why I doubted my boat. So at that time, we continuously pulled power 10s just so we can catch up. And it worked because we started walking them, and we were still in this race. When we passed the 250 mark, it was a fight because we lost a lot of power from doing all those power 10s, but we didn't want to lose that day. We wanted to show them who we were. And I remember being in the last 250, and my hands were kind of bleeding because I was death gripping the oar, and I was so nervous. But when we crossed the finish line, I looked at the shore, and I saw my coach, and she was jumping up and down, and I thought, wait, did we win? I don't know what's going on. And apparently we won gold that day, so that was such an achievement. Yeah. That race was in 2011, and when I think back at it, I don't remember winning gold that much. I mostly remember those 3 to 5 minutes of staring at open water and doubting myself. Yeah, I remember thinking that I wasn't good enough and that I wasn't going to win this race because somehow, was it my stroke or was it because we didn't have what the other teams had or their 2K score was better than mine? But those 3 minutes of open water really taught me a lot. And in my life, I never actually saw open water again, mostly because in college when I rode, I was strictly a 2-seat and I could only see 3 seats back. But even still, there have been many moments in my own life that I felt like I was in open water, but instead of giving up and letting fear overtake me, I pushed myself and I persevered. Row New York has gave me the confidence to challenge myself in anything that I do. And I now know that when I'm faced with a challenge or any kind of open water situation, I won't just paddle. I'll push myself because I know that I can achieve any goal that I set my mind to. Thank you.